March Madness is in full effect, and it's straight chalk so far. Texas women's basketball is back in the Sweet 16. Bronny James is popping off, and the MLB season begins tomorrow. Stay tuned because we're talking all this out on the one and only College Crossfire.
All right, I'm going classic. The 9-9-9. I'm going to do the 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, 9 innings challenge.
Need I say more? Need I say more? Need I say more at all?
From Costco specifically, I'm going to take 2 double chunk chocolate cookies, ice cream sandwich, but it's fried.
It's about to get hot in here, folks.
It's about to get hot. Good evening to everyone tuning in tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonson. We've got a very exciting show in store for you. It's our 8th show this semester. It's our first one back from spring break. I'm getting a little sad because we only have a few left before the year is over. I think we started this show when we were talking about a win over Michigan back in September. Goose, you were on that show, and now it's almost April. So we've got to make this final stretch of the year count. So, as always, before we begin, we want to share with you that today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. So plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. So without further ado, it's time to get into it. As always, we can't start any show without introducing our contestants. Let's jump right in. Right beside me in our first seat, we have our reigning Crossfire champion. He's the young freshman phenom who's ecstatic from coming off his first win ever. You probably saw him from his reports through yesterday's Sean Miller Texas men's basketball press conference, getting those reports on your phone. Let's welcome on our very own Tyler Strempel.
Thank you. Nice research. Excited to get underway. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I love opening day. Obviously, Go Stros. Throwback to the brick red. Overhated in general. Excited to get on, give H-Town a 4th win this semester.
I like to think everyone has their most advantageous show in a way in terms of what sport they like the most. MLB opening day. It's tomorrow. This is essentially this is the show where you popped off. We saw Aaron Vila do it a couple weeks ago with college hoops. Moving on, we have in seat number 2 a man who is no stranger to the game. He's last year's co-sports director and EP of Crossfire, our reigning Tournament of Champions winner, repping Spectrum News. It's the vet, Justin Goosman.
Man, what an intro, Robert. That was electric. It is the best time of the year, but not because of MLB opening day, but because of March Madness. And when March Madness isn't going on, you can tune up for the NBA playoffs. Fantastic time of the year in the sports calendar. Excited for some College Crossfire today.
So we have MLB opening day and basketball heating up, and I can probably name about 3 other things on my hand that make this time of the year so great. And rounding it out, finishing off our lineup for tonight, we have a huge Ohio State Buckeyes fan and very experienced sports reporter, our Texas Athletics breaking news reporter for the Daily Texan, and former sports editor for UTSA's The Pisano newspaper for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 semesters. It's our very own Luke Lawhorn.
Thank you, Robert. That was a way better introduction than I needed, but I'm excited to be here. Not much to say. Let's get it started.
Let's get it started. That's right. Tonight's episode is going to be a gauntlet for each contestant. It's going to be awesome. Before we begin, though, it's important that we review the game's rules in case our viewers have never tuned in before. So, there will be 3 rounds with each one containing 3 questions. Points will be given out to who I believe has the best answer in order of 3, 2, and 1. Whoever has the most points at the end of the final round wins and gets a return for next week's show. However, there is a catch here. We must not forget that the 3rd and final round, better known as the rapid fire round, is worth double the points, meaning the best answer will receive 6 points, second best will get 4, and third will get 2. In this round, the contestants have not been able to see or prepare for these questions whatsoever, so they're going to have to think on their feet and come up with the best idea in their opinion, of what the best answer is. In the event that there's a tie by the end of the 3rd round, I have a bonus question prepared to determine who will be crowned our champion and will get to come on for next week's episode. Now that we've gone over the rules, we can get into a great show with an absolutely star-studded lineup, great sports debaters. Let's get into this one. The first weekend of Division I men's NCAA tournament took place this past weekend, and while it's called March Madness, there wasn't a whole lot of madness this year. It was the first time since 2017 and sixth time ever where a 13 seed or lower did not advance to the Sweet 16. Was this just a coincidence, or is college basketball changing, and if so, why? Tyler?
Yeah, so I don't think it's any secret that we're seeing an increase in chalk due to the introduction of NIL and the really rapid adoption of it. But I'm going to go with a different kind of mindset than a lot of people in the national media have been going, which is it is not going to completely destroy college basketball. Yes, it's going to mean that anyone who does well in a mid-major for the NCAA tournament is probably going to get a big NIL deal at a bigger university. But there are hundreds of universities, and the majority of them are not in a Power 6, Power 5 conference, meaning that we're always going to see an influx of players that overlooked by the national rating system who are going to go into a mid-major, perform really well, and get a deal. We're going to see less upsets, but we're not going to see the end of upsets. And I think this is going to become a cyclical thing where every year or every couple of years, we have a set of mid-major stars. They're going to go into the Power Fours. Freshmen are going to come in. So we're going to see less upsets. We're going to see more NIL, and I don't think that's fully going to be fixed until we regulate NIL like we regulate the amount of scholarships a school can give. But upsets are never going to completely go away because of NIL.
So here we have NIL taking effect and affecting how many upsets we see, but only to a degree. I see what you mean there. Justin.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that, like Tyler said, NIL and the transfer portal have changed the landscape of college basketball. But when you look at this year's NCAA tournament, it's not like the lower seeds didn't have chances. Robert Morris had Alabama on the ropes until the very end of the game. UNC Wilmington against Texas Tech had chances to take the lead in that game, had chances to win that game. In the past couple of tournaments, we've just seen guys who have historically not hit shots for lower seeded teams. FDU a couple years ago had a 27% three-point shooter that hit a huge shot to bring them over Purdue. A couple guys didn't hit shots this year, and a couple of upsets didn't happen. Yes, NIL and the transfer portal will affect college basketball, but it's not going to change the tournament forever. We see tournaments like this every now and again. Next year, I would imagine we're back to the same amount of upsets. Sure, some guys are going to move back up to the higher schools, but it's not going to change the tournament forever.
So NIL taking place, but then this is just one specific game in the round of 64 you're talking about where even if you're a great team, can you shoot the ball well? And if you're not so great team, are you going to be hot that day? Luke.
Well, I would say that NIL has definitely changed the landscape. I'll go deeper on that. Well, one, I think it's made college basketball a lot better at the high end. I think all top 4 or all 1 seeds have no more than 5 losses, and I don't think any top 10 seed had more than double-digit losses. So the basketball quality is better at the higher end now, and that's because, with these mid-majors losing these continuity pieces, these players have been there 3, 4, 5 years. They're now going to these bigger teams to get bigger NIL deals. And like I said, I think it produces better basketball play. And personally, I like seeing that because there was nothing worse than seeing, maybe a cool upset. It was a fun watch, but then you go on and see them in the Elite 8 or Sweet 16 and they get smacked by 20. So I'm glad that that's out of the way. I'm glad that we're seeing more continuity, and these powerhouses, they're staying longer. So I think that produces better basketball.
It's a little bit of like an equalizing effect in terms of we have the best teams, being able to win by a certain amount, but also, it's like filtering out the best teams is what you're saying, and having those advance. So they're all great answers all around. I have to give the 3 right here to Mr. Justin Goosman because even though NIL does play a factor and we're watching it play a factor, like you said, are you able to play well on that one specific day in March in advance to the round of 32? Can you do that? Is your shot going to be on? And I still think we almost saw upsets. We saw McNeese do it against Clemson. That's still going to be a factor. I have to give the 3 to you. Upsets can still happen. I'm going to have to give the 2 right here to Mr. Tyler Strempel in terms of I understand how NIL is taking place, but there's not enough Power 4, Power 5 teams to fit all of the March Madness heroes from the lower tier conferences. And then Luke, I do believe there is an equalizing effect. We'll just see what will happen in the years to come. Moving on Monday, Texas women's basketball defeated 8th seed Illinois to advance to the Sweet 16 for the 2nd straight season. Their upcoming path in Birmingham, Alabama includes a tough conference opponent in Tennessee. Next, And then, if they win, either TCU and Haley Van Lith or Notre Dame and Hannah Hidalgo. What will the Longhorns have to do in order to find success this weekend and advance to the Final Four? This is both games we're talking about here, and they got to beat Tennessee first.
Yeah, I mean, when you play against Tennessee, the key is simple. You have to slow the game down. I think Texas has the ability to do that with their bigs and Kyla Oldacre and Taylor Jones. They've been dominant all season. I expect Texas to play through them. Madison Booker, Rory Harmon are fantastic, but their key is going to be on the defensive end. Texas has to hold Tennessee below 80 points. When you hold Tennessee below 80 points, they're 4-5 on the season. When you don't, they're the best team in college basketball. They're the highest scoring offense and one of the fastest paced offenses in all of college basketball. So you have to slow Tennessee down. You have to play through bigs. You have to hold on to the ball and make sure that you're getting the best shot possible. In the next round, it's really just going to be a matter of, can you slow down Hannah Hidalgo and Haley Van Lith? If you play either one of those, you really want to make sure that if you let them score, you don't let them get their teammates involved. Those teams are the best when they get their teammates involved. So in my opinion, slow the game down against Tennessee, hold them below 80 points, you have a good chance to win. And then against either of those two, you have to try to balance it out by limiting their teammates if possible.
You know you're playing some of the best college players in the entire sport right now. How do you stop them? Luke.
I think this side of the bracket on both men's and women's is probably going to produce the best games this weekend because that Tennessee and Texas game will be a battle. And I think that, though that was cogent analysis, I think the Texas offense will have to take care of the ball because there was only one team in the entire SEC who forced more turnovers than the Longhorns, and that was Tennessee. They averaged like 22 or 23 forced turnovers a game. So I think our guards, they're going to have to make sure they take care of the ball because just our one and only matchup a couple months ago, it was 80-76 or something like that. It was already a close game. So in those type of ball games, you know that every turnover matters. It's going to come down to the final minute. Who's going to take care of the ball first? And then if we can get past the Volunteers, same thing, we're going to have to take care of the TCU duos, and that'll be a tall task.
You know, in a 4-point deficit, taking care of the ball and limiting turnovers is key. Tyler.
Yeah, so going off this UT and Tennessee matchup, and forgive me for using a UT in this conversation, the matchup last time, yes, it was 80-76, but you could see there was a clear change of momentum after the second half of that Tennessee game. It was because they were able to stop the turnovers. But here's the thing. For a lot of the season against these better teams, Texas has started slow and finished hard, and they can afford to because their defense is one of the best in the country, and they figure out a specific game plan. The advantage that Texas has here is that they already have a game plan for Tennessee. It was the second half of the last time they played. Get the ball to Taylor Jones in the paint, slow their offense down as much as possible, anchor the defense from Rory Harmon. If they can do that and not start as slow, they will be okay. Now, going into the second game, you have two people that I want to highlight real quick. If you're going to TCU, obviously you got to control Haley Van Lith. Also control Madison Connor, one of the best three-point shooters in the game. That defense has got to be top-notch. And then Notre Dame, obviously, Hannah Hidalgo. I like to call it playing fast, slow. Fast offense, slow defense. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have to give all great answers and, you know, good analysis. This bracket, or this weekend can go either way. I'm going to have to give the 3 right here to Mr. Luke Lawhorn because, you know, I think turnovers matter the most in terms of, you talk about a 4-point deficit. Tennessee leads the SEC in turnovers. You know, they're getting them left and right. And when you only win by like less than 5 in the first game, what are you going to do the next game to figure that out? I'm giving the 2 right here to Mr. Tyler Strempel. You talk about, you know, getting the ball to Taylor Jones, Kyle Oldacre in the paint when necessary, and that's the adjustment that they made in the last game. Justin Goosman, I also think speed, that matters the most too in terms of how do you stop a Hannah Hidalgo. They really struggled last time when they played Notre Dame. They'd much rather face a TCU team than the Notre Dame team. So 3, 2, 1, that's how it will go. Now, third question. All right, finishing off this block, UT Athletic Director Chris Del Conte announced on Sunday that the men's basketball program has parted ways with head coach Rodney Terry. Just a day later, Texas hired Sean Miller from Xavier, the team that eliminated the Longhorns in the first 4, to be the new team's head coach. What are your outlooks on this hire, and what should Texas fans expect from Miller? Luke?
Man, this decision shows you that this business is actually a business because you hired the coach that just sent you out of the tournament about a week ago. But what you can expect from Miller is to bring a more NBA advanced analytic offense to the team. Ronnie Terry and the previous several Texas coaches kind of had a defensive first mindset, but with Miller, he likes to have a fast pace on the court. He likes a lot of threes. He likes going to the rim, getting a quick bucket, trying to draw fouls. I think that works better in today's game. I know, defense wins championships. I know all that. But that wasn't working. So I think that this new change, it'll give more life to this offense and this deep SEC conference where, you have these one possession losses. I think this will really turn the tide for the Longhorn offense.
Kind of switching up a style of play with a new coach, Tyler.
Yeah, I want to expand on that because I have to agree that there's going to be a more offensive approach, and I preach statistics every time I talk on a television at this point. However, I think what's really important to note is that a lot of the woes for Texas were on the offensive side this year. Their defense was somewhat competent. Their offense was Trey Johnson, and it wasn't really that great. And especially in close games against good opponents, every single time it seemed like Texas just fell off a cliff and lost momentum. And that is not going to work in this iteration of the SEC where offense is absolutely the king. I think that Miller has a great track record of doing more with less. Playing Xavier, yes, it's one of the bigger mid-majors, but it's still a mid-major, and you're going to lose recruits to bigger schools. But Xavier and even Arizona, which obviously is a power conference, they were able to do with more with less, and I think that's what Miller needs to be able to do to get players, figure out how to improve them. Player development was a big thing in his conference, and I think if he can do that, Texas fans can expect a team that will probably, I'm going to say, at least win a game in the NCAA tournament next year.
Trying to get more value and utility out of the resources that you have on your roster. Justin?
Stylistically, both of these two answered the question really well. Another thing I would like to add is it's going to finally, Texas will get an actual big. The last few years, it feels like they're trying to play with 6'10", versatile, wing, big, kind of combo forwards and centers. Finally, they're going to have a coach that values bigs. But on the other hand, Texas fans should expect more winning. Miller was at the tournament 13 of the last 20 seasons, brought his team to the Sweet 16 8 times, to the Elite 8 4 of those 8 times. In the same time span, Texas only got to the Sweet 16 5 times, the Elite 8 3 times, never to the Final Four. So Texas fans can, one, expect, like these two said, a lot more threes, a statistical, analytical approach to the game. They can also expect to finally have a dominant interior presence that we haven't had since Mo Bamba. And lastly, a lot more winning.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give the 3 right here to Mr. Justin Goosman in terms of, you talk about bringing in a big, and, the analytics, they are great. That's what you would hope for when you get a new hire onto your coaching staff. But then again, you just talk about what can you see tangibly in the long run, and, more success in the postseason with the track record coming from Arizona and Xavier. You could probably understand that you'd probably want a much better outcome than what you had with Rodney Terry, with Chris Beard, with Shaka Smart, with Rick Barnes here at Texas. All right. Getting the 2 right here, I'm going to give it to Mr. Tyler Strempel. You talk about how does the team improve in terms of running an offense beyond Trey Johnson. They're going to want to be able. You don't want to give your opponent a whole on easy cheat sheet every single game. And Luke Lawhorn, to get the 1 right there, also taking an analytical approach. 3 questions up, 3 questions down. That is going to conclude things for our first round of the night. But when we return, we've got some more basketball. A little bit of pro sports now to talk about. Don't go anywhere, because College Crossfire returns in just a sec. Welcome back into College Crossfire. We've got a super close game here tonight in this very, tough matchup for each of our contestants. We have Mr. Justin Goosman leading with 7. Right behind him is Tyler Strempel with 6. And then right behind him is Luke Lawhorn with 5. Still anyone's game. This is an extremely close one right now as we continue on. We'll now shift away from college hoops and get into some more pro sports news. Starting off, it's been a big week for the highly pressured Bronny James of the Los Angeles Lakers. Last Thursday, he played 30 minutes and scored 17 points. And then on Monday, he scored a G League career high of 39 points. And then I believe he had 17 points again last night. With all the high expectations and criticism, it's been a rough season for the NBA legend's son. So, these last few games have to feel pretty great and relieving for him. What do you make of Bronny's NBA future now with his recent performances? Luke?
I feel like he's playing exactly like a mid-level second-round pick would. He was the 55th pick, and he's around 50 in points per game, assists per game, minutes per game. So he's playing right at his average, which is good, especially if you, like many people, don't hold too much against him at USC. He had cardiac arrest, 2 Julys ago, was, dead on the court. And so he played 25 USC games, averaged 4, 2, and 2. So it was really hard to evaluate him with all that was going on. I know he only averaged like 10 or 14 back in high school, but now he's starting to grow into himself, especially that he gets to watch his dad go to work every single day. And now you see he's getting his confidence up, and he's going to the G League and not just playing against young players. The G League is filled with 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds who don't care that he's LeBron's son. So now he's getting in his own, he's getting his confidence, and you can expect him to keep improving. And at any other draft, he might be a first-round pick.
I mean, there you go. He's certainly not performing below expectations right now. Justin?
I think he is highly exceeding expectations. As the 55th overall pick, this is the most highly scrutinized second-round pick that we have ever seen come into the NBA, averaging 22 points a game in the G League, shooting 46% and 37% from 3, 5 assists per game. But most importantly is his defense. He's averaging 2 steals per game. He is like a poor man's Drew Holiday, but with a better three-point jumper coming into the NBA. And you see what he's doing when he actually gets on the floor with tangible minutes that J.J. Redick gives him. He is a productive NBA player. When he's not out there playing with like 2 minutes of run, expected to hit 3 threes and score 25 points in 10 minutes, he is a productive NBA player, and his future should be looked at as such. I think he is going to be a highly touted role player in this league for a very long time, and this should be seen as his one-and-done year in college. Last year is not really evaluatable. He didn't play a whole lot. Like he said, literally coming off of cardiac arrest, he died on the basketball floor and is playing quality basketball.
I mean, people can criticize all they want and just say, oh, he's LeBron's son, but go back to high school recruiting. He was one of the top high school recruits in his class. Tyler?
Yeah, I'm going to expand on what they both said because they were absolutely right. He is developing, and I think what is really important to note here is, no, he did not have enough time in college. What this G League stint is doing is it's developing him as a professional basketball player. At the beginning of the year, you could see that he was arguably still playing with the high school mindset, and I'm going to compare to another figure that had a bit of a G League stint and is now playing productive basketball. I'm going to go Jalen Green here. Obviously, he is not one of the best players in the league, but he is a very productive player for the Houston Rockets because he was able to develop in G League. I think part of the slander against him is that everyone tries to compare him to his dad. He is not LeBron James. He's LeBron James Jr. It's a totally different name, and putting the expectations that LeBron had at his age is absolutely unfair, and it contributes to the slander against him. But when he gets time to develop and he gets time to remember how to play against professional basketball players, we now see that he has the ability to be productive, and I think that's going to become a really important thing in the years to come. And I think he can even become more than a role player. I think he can become a star as he develops more in his professional basketball style. I think he should have been drafted next year, but the G League is helping him in a slightly more advantageous way, I think.
So taking more of a developmental, time-consuming approach to a player's pathway in the NBA. I like that. All right, I have to give the 3 right here to Mr. Justin Goosman once again, simply because I think you look at Bronny's expectations for him. People did not really think he would He would play very well at all. And I think for what the numbers he's putting up right now, he is exceeding them. I have to give the 2 to Mr. Luke Lawhorn because, at the end of the day, also on the other hand, he is a second-round draft pick. And whether you could debate about whether he's exceeding them or meeting those expectations, people thought he was going to play below expectations. So, therefore, G League or not, playing in the NBA, he's getting meaningful minutes, and he's playing at least either above par or at par, for instance. And then, like you said, I like your developmental perspective. It's going to take some time. Tyler, you'll get the 1 right there. All right, moving on now. We're going to go to the NFL. With offseason workouts set to begin soon, NFL veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers is still yet to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. In case the 41-year-old doesn't want to go play for the terrible towel, the team has Mason Rudolph back in their quarterback room. From both a team and a player standpoint, should the Steelers try to lock down Rodgers at this point, or is it time for him to hang up the cleats? Justin.
All right. I'm going to demonstrate what Aaron Rodgers needs to do. This is a jersey. I'm going to hang it up. Brother, give it up. I'm looking at this Pittsburgh Steelers roster, and you're not winning a championship with that team. You're only going to hurt your legacy. Sure, you have some wide receivers, but Arthur Smith as your offensive coordinator, and you look at Aaron Rodgers' production last year with Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, and guys on their roster. I mean, Breece Hall. They don't even have a backfield in Pittsburgh right now. I do not trust anything that Pittsburgh is doing offensively, and if Aaron Rodgers goes and plays, he is only going to destroy his legacy even more, and I think he just needs to hang it up, call it quits, go on the Pat McAfee show every Tuesday, reminisce about your playing days, and just give it up, man.
Is it me?
I don't know.
I think it's me.
It's Tyler. That's a hot take of the night so far. All right, Tyler.
I got to agree here. Listen, Aaron Rodgers did not have the worst year for a quarterback by far. 90.5 rating, not the worst at all. 28-11 TD interception ratio, not terrible. Not Aaron Rodgers standard, but not terrible. It is the perfect point to retire when you are not so far in the dumps in your career that it becomes embarrassing. He has had a very controversial couple years with, his ayahuasca retreats and that one time when he almost was the vice president pick for Robert F. Kennedy. Right now is a perfect time for him to hang up the jersey and retire at what can still somewhat be characterized as a good time in his legacy. And I agree, there's not a lot in Pittsburgh to be excited for. They got rid of Matt Canada, who everyone hated as their offensive coordinator, and they got Arthur Smith, who is also not very good at his job. So Aaron Rodgers needs to retire with some dignity, reminisce about his playing days as all good before it just becomes sad to see him on a football field. Also, his bone's got to be brittle by now. He's like, what, 42?
41.
41, same difference. Pull up Tom Brady. Tom Brady was 8-5. He had a decent year. He retired with some dignity. Do the same thing.
All right. Also wanting him to hang up the cleats. Luke.
Well, from a team perspective, I think the Steelers should try to get him. I mean, they're in a tough division, and I think Mike Tomlin has a lot of heat on him. I feel like Pittsburgh Pittsburgh fans have always defended him, but now it's getting to the point they're like, we want playoff wins. And, you're in a division with the Bengals, you're in a division with the Ravens, you're in a stacked AFC. So I think if you're the Steelers, and are you going to just roll out with Kenny Pickett, or are you going to try to get Aaron Rodgers, maybe for cheap, give him one last hurrah? For Aaron Rodgers and his perspective, he should absolutely hang it up, because there's no way they're going to get over 500 in that division. Healthy Cincinnati, Ravens are coming back. If the Cleveland drafts Abdul Carr, you got him and Myles Garrett coming off the edges. And, yeah, the Steelers' offense has never been good, especially over the last, decade. So adding Aaron, that will be the best for them, but for Aaron himself, it'd be best if he hung it up.
All right. It's hard when you all agree on the same thing, but you all gave some great analyses right there. I have to give the 3 right here. You also talked about the Steelers standpoint, Luke. For them right now, hiring Rodgers could very well be the best thing in the Steelers' interest. Maybe go ask Colin Flickinger over there and see what he thinks about it, our Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But for Aaron Rodgers, he's had a great career, great legacy. He's won a Super Bowl. But I think the gas in the tank is running out. I'm going to give you the 3 right there, Luke. Justin Goosman, you're very passionate about that. You're like, it's time to maybe go hang it up. For instance, I thought you were going to go play in the XFL or the UFL when you picked up that jersey. But clearly you're using that as a metaphor to hang it up. And Tyler, the one you don't want to hurt your legacy while you still have some of its glory to show. All right, that was a great question. Moving on to the final one of our block. Tomorrow, a long MLB offseason comes to a close as opening weekend begins. There will be many new-look rosters this season as big moves were made by different teams over the past few months. Juan Soto to the Mets, Roki Sasaki on the Dodgers, and Kyle Tucker to the Cubs, just to name a few. Looking ahead at the first half of the regular season here, which MLB team is going to run the table? Tyler.
Okay, so I like to look at strength of schedule here because I think that's really, really important. And we have a team who made the wild card last year, even with some injuries, and I think they have a chance to have some really good wins because of their strength of schedule. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles. I think they have a good core. I think with Adley Rutschman, you have Gunnar Henderson. I honestly think we're going to see a more relaxed and better Jackson Holiday. That's just my hot take of this answer. A good pitching staff. I think they have a chance to make a really good run in this first half because of their strength of schedule and because their offense is going to be really good. I think they're going to recover from some of the issues that they had last year. I think they have a chance to be either second or first in the division after this first half. I think it's a race between them and Boston for the AL East Division title, and I think their strength of schedule, they have the 9th easiest strength of schedule. Boston has the 10th hardest, and that is a really big discrepancy when you're trying to win baseball games in the first half of the season. So Baltimore has both the strength of schedule and the core to get it done.
Here you go. All right, Justin.
I think it's actually Luke.
Okay.
Luke.
So I want to talk about a team who's been disappointing my entire lifetime and even way before my time. I want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds. I'm not saying they're going to go chase a World Series, but I think they can sneak into the playoffs. They got a new manager, Terry Francona, I believe is his name, and he went to Boston. And when he went there, he increased them by 3 wins and won a World Series, his first year. He went to Cleveland. He improved them by 24 wins his first year, got into the wild card, and then won. But now he's in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was the second worst team in the MLB last year, one-run games. I believe they were 15-28. Only the White Sox were worse, and they were basically a high school team. So now you're getting improvement in these one-run games, and then you have third-year Ellie coming, Ellie De La Cruz, maybe makes MVP push. You got Hunter Green in a full healthy season, Matt McClain, who can make an all-star push. With these young core guys, I believe this new manager can push them over the top and maybe even chase in the playoffs, get a wild card win.
New coach brings new success. That's what you always hope for, Cincinnati Reds. I don't mean this to talk down on the Cincinnati Reds here,
yeah.
but I don't think I've ever heard them of all 4 major sports teams be like, oh yeah, the Cincinnati Reds are running the table or they just won their division. I don't think anyone's ever heard that in anyone in this year before.
Not since the 70s.
Not since the 70s. Justin.
Everyone's going to hate this answer. It's the obvious answer. I'm going to pick the Dodgers. And now here's why. When you look at some of the Los Angeles teams this year, we all know LA has been through a lot. After those wildfires happened, can you let me finish? Can you let me finish? So, all right. So, the Rams, as soon as they like,
What?
Can I finish? Are y'all going to let me finish?
I'm being quiet.
All right. The teams in LA have fought incredibly hard. We look at the way the Rams fought when the wildfires originally happened. They got through a round in the playoffs that nobody expected them to get through. Then you look at the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers, 2 teams that really did not have a whole lot of talent other than whenever LA brings in Luka Doncic. All of these teams are incredibly motivated, and they are playing their best ball. And then you look at the way that the Dodgers got the monkey off their back. They don't have the pressure anymore on them to win to win a title. I think that they're going to come into the first half of the season where normally you'd have a little bit of that championship hangover, and they're going to dominate the MLB because they have the most talented roster, they have the best player in baseball, and they are motivated for their community.
Yeah. So I think even as someone from Houston who they root for the I root for the Astros, it's still very cool to see a team like the Dodgers with all those stars on the team play on the same roster. And we saw them last year. They were great. They won the World Series, but they didn't have everyone fully healthy. I'll get to my main point is it's going to be cool to see them pretty healthy. Like with Tony Gonsolin playing, he'll be back. I'm not related to him. He'll be back, though. Taylor Gonson will be back on the roster. I am going to have to give the 3. However, I am going to give the 3 here to Mr. Tyler Strempel. You talk about strength of schedule, but you talk about having the pieces to get it done in this first half of the season. And I think that the Orioles, with the new additions that they've made, and with them being able to prove a much stronger resume than Boston, they could totally do that. Justin, I think they just have Dodgers have way too many pieces this year to where they could also run the table. And the Cincinnati Reds, I think that they can make a playoff push too, but I don't know if they'll necessarily be one of the top teams in the MLB that we're going to be talking about by the All-Star break. So 3, 2, 1 down the line. Great answers all around in our second round. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we have rapid fire coming up, the most exciting time of the entire show, and especially a very exciting time for sports right now. Stick around. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a great game going on right now in our 8th episode of the year. Mr. Justin Goosman leads with 14 points, and then right behind him are Tyler Strempel and Luke Lawhorn tied at 11. But tonight's win is still up for grabs by anyone, as we're about to begin our third and final round of the night, rapid fire. Double the points, double the pressure. It's about to get hot. Let's get right into our first question. Last week, the Masters announced former Longhorn and the current #1 golfer in the entire world, Scottie Scheffler's custom menu for the 2025 Masters Champions Dinner. This is a tradition long held since 1952, where the reigning champions come together and get back and have a menu all designed by the previous year's winner. If you had the opportunity to, let's say you won the Masters and had the opportunity to create your own 3-course meal, what would be on that menu? Anyone can start. Take the mic away. Remember, this is a 3-course meal.
Okay.
This is your.
Well, I would definitely start it with a salad. That is definitely the first course. And then second, you got to go with the steak, especially after a win. You know, have to celebrate with that. And then third, I want to go with the liqueur. 43, there's nothing like smoking a cigar, sipping on some 43 after a good day, a good win. So start with the salad, eat a good steak, sip on some liqueur, and smoke a cigar.
There you go. There you go.
I don't fully know yet.
All right, this is tough. First course, appetizer. Give me some breaded calamari. I think it's the best appetizer in the entire game. On the second course, we are in the heat of crawfish season. I want a crawfish bowl. Not a boil, a crawfish bowl. All right? And then got to have the potatoes, got to have the corn in there and everything. Last but not least, for a dessert. Man, dessert's tough. I really don't know what I would do for dessert. That's tough. I think I would go with the Goosman Grandma Chocolate Sheet Cake. I don't think you can top that as a dessert.
The chocolate sheet cake.
Chocolate sheet cake.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Tyler.
Okay, so I wish I knew what your sheet cake tasted like. Okay, so he took my calamari answer. I'm gonna circle back to appetizers. I'm gonna go with just my favorite childhood taste, but also really flavorful dishes that are both like fancy because you're at a fancy golf dinner, but also, you know, somewhat playful. So I'm gonna go with a picanha steak. as the main course. Great fat content, super easy to flavor. The chimichurri goes amazing with it. After that, I'm going to go with a very classic New York style cheesecake. I am as big of a connoisseur of cheesecake as you could possibly have. I just think cheesecake goes well with everything for a dinner. As for the appetizer, it's a little bit difficult for me because I was going to go with the calamari thing. However, I'm going to have to go with some. I just had this in Florida. Oysters Casino. It's oven oysters with like breadsticks and some bacon on top. It is delicious, and you get your fish, you get your steak. Who needs vegetables at a golf dinner? You get some cheesecake to end it off. You've got a happy tummy.
I haven't eaten oysters very much, but put some bacon on there. When does bacon ever make things taste bad?
Never.
Never. All right. Moving on now. This week, a new rules report for the NFL were sent out to franchises, which included a new addition to the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. This addition was meant to essentially encompass a popular first down celebration where players wipe their noses, fire a finger gun, or do anything excessive in pointing forward for a first down. To many, this rule seems a little too excessive. So, if you were to redraw the line between what's considered an appropriate celebration and what's in sportsmanlike conduct in the NFL, where would that line be?
The line would just be where it gets physical. Because at the end of the day, this is a sport. Like, they're literally playing a game. And, growing up in elementary school, outside at recess, in middle school, high school, everyone's talking, everyone's having fun, everyone's dancing. And if you're doing it too long, it just becomes detrimental to your own team. So you're only hurting your own team. But there is nothing wrong to me with a good dance after a first down or celebrating in the end zone, spiking the ball, flexing your muscles. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as it doesn't get physical, I think that it's a game at the end of the day. Let the athletes have fun.
Bring back that tenacity between both teams.
Exactly.
There's a reason that the NFL is called the No Fun League, because Roger Goodell likes to grab money from his players at every possible point for any sort of slightly controversial celebration that they do. He's the highest paid commissioner. He's got like $69 million a year. The NFL makes too much money. Stop fining people. I'm going to agree here. Unless you start getting physical with your own or even other teams' players or anyone in the stands, yeah, that's a problem. But, as long as you're not doing anything that is illegal, and I don't just mean mocking, I mean actually doing something illegal, it should be fair game. To catch a touchdown in the NFL is one of the hardest things that you can possibly do. You're trying to chase away from speedy cornerbacks, or you're trying to get through a beefy, stout offensive line. Not many people can say that they've ever done that. They deserve to be able to celebrate the way that they want to without fear of getting fined for no reason. And some of these fines are for no reason. So Roger Goodell needs to calm down, let the players play, and it's going to be a more exciting game afterwards.
There you go.
Is this where I'm redrawing the line? Like I'm allowed to okay. After you score a touchdown or a big play happens, or we'll say after you score a touchdown, you get 30 seconds. You can do whatever you would like as a celebration, as long as it's not illegal, right? But if it gets physical, it gets physical. Then after 30 seconds, you can throw as many flags as you want. But you can do whatever celebration you would like for the first 30 seconds after you score a touchdown. And after that, you can flag them for everything that is currently on the NFL rule book. But for that first 30 seconds, go crazy. Do whatever touchdown dance you want. Taunt your opponent. Spike your helmet in their face. Spike the ball in their face. Like kick a man while he's down. I don't care. Do it.
It's going to be bounty gate all over.
So just opening up the floodgates, essentially.
Yes, sir. You give up a touchdown, you better get back to your sideline quick.
Maybe it's sort of an NFL reset period, where let the players celebrate however they want.
100%.
And then another 15 years, we'll be back at this point where there's so many restrictions for unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in place. All right, here you go. All right, last question of the night today. Marvel Studios released their star-studded cast for their 2026 film, Avengers Doomsday. This announcement arrived 6 years after the studios released the second highest-grossing film of all time, Avengers Endgame. Sticking with the cast, however, it brings in new and old faces to the MCU, along with stars from the old X-Men franchise. Translating this over to sports now. If you were to pick one team from any era in sports that combines some of the best athletes ever, from veterans, playing with rookies that you would give the title of Avengers to, which team is that?
Is this a team that has played before, or do we get to form a team?
No, the team that has played before.
Okay, so there are some obvious answers, but I think, listen, how many people like the movie Uncle Drew? It's a good movie because the concept is old basketball players playing like they never stopped playing, right? And I think there's one team that I think could still beat probably a decent amount of the younger, not as skilled NBA players. I'm going to go with the U.S. Olympic Dream Team from the 90s. An actual team that has played, as I believe the question asks for. You have, just the best players in NBA history. Make them play all-stars of this year, or even add them to the NBA All-Star tournament that they're trying to make work. That would be great to watch. Have them avenge their title as the greatest basketball team ever, and people will watch.
Or if we're just going based on like Olympic teams, I think this past Olympic team would wipe the floor with that 92 Dream Team or whatever year it was, 92, 96. This year you don't even need to explain much more after LeBron, KD, Steph. I think all of them would, that's probably the best team any American sports ever had, so I can't find any more better Avengers than that, especially, if we're going to the 92 Dream Team, they had Christian Laettner on there. The worst person on this team was Derek White. He was way better than him, so that's my answer.
I think they called themselves the Avengers, too, right?
It goes with it, yep.
So are we choosing like a franchise and then like combining them?
No, you pick any team from any sport in sports.
Any year.
Yeah.
And okay, I think this is actually a pretty easy answer, and I'm gonna go with the Virginia basketball team that won the title following their loss in the first round to UMBC. Because you wanna give the title of a team the Avengers. You can't avenge much more than that. You lost in the most embarrassing way possible, and then came back and won one of the hardest championships ever. The way they came back down against Texas Tech, that was pretty special stuff. You want to give a team an actual Avengers title, that is the definition of avenging what you lost in the most embarrassing fashion imaginable the previous year.
I should have said it last year.
All right, I think each three of our contestants definitely whatever hot takes and energy that they just had about sports night, they let that all out. Clearly, Goose, you let that out right there in the last one. You had the Aaron Rodgers take. You let yours out on the MLB take with the Orioles. All right, as you know, this is a great show, but there can only be one answer. And our winner tonight is, drum roll please, Mr. Justin Goosman.
Dang!
Mr. Justin Goosman. Do we have time for FaceTime? Go for it.
All right. Really fun show. This is one of the best Crossfires I've been on in a really long time. Tyler, Luke, that was phenomenal. Robert, great questions. That was really fun. Shout out to everyone in the back room, everyone that pulled up today through the rain, getting soaked on the way over here. Really, really great stuff from the crew all around. It was a lot of fun.
It was so fun to have all three of y'all on for this episode, but we hope that y'all all be back once again, and possibly the three of y'all. We hope that it'll be fun to see all y'all in the Tournament of Champions. Congrats to you again, Justin. That's going to wrap things up for at TSTV tonight. Thank you to everyone who makes the show possible, from the contestants to the in-studio personnel, all the people in Master Control, especially our executive producer, Tyler Moss, and Gabriel Silva, our associate producer, and to you, the audience. Thanks for watching. Remember to tune into our other shows, 1-0 on Friday and College Press Box on Tuesday. Signing off from the studio, I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin. Have a great night.